Hemos recibido dudas por parte de todo el auditorio en torno a en qué momento se informó a México, a la autoridad correspondiente, por parte del Centro Nacional de Huracanes de los Estados Unidos, que Otis iba a ser un huracán categoría 5. Y en torno a ese tema tuve la oportunidad de entrevistar al doctor Michael Brennan. Él es el director del Centro Nacional de Huracanes de los Estados Unidos, y esto me dijo.
Well, we were forecasting Otis to reach hurricane intensity or close to hurricane intensity as early as, let me look at my notes here, as early as late Monday when we coordinated the issuance of a hurricane watch with the Meteorological Service of Mexico Monday afternoon for the area around Acapulco where Otis eventually made landfall. And then we were even more confident by the time we got to Tuesday morning. Our forecast was showing Otis reaching hurricane strength, and a hurricane warning was issued for that area. Tuesday morning was when the government there issued a hurricane warning at 4 a.m. It would have been 3 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Okay, so you knew already at 3 a.m. Tuesday morning that this was going to be a hurricane, but you did not know what strength it was going to take.
Right. At that point in time, we were forecasting Otis to strengthen to hurricane intensity by the time it reached the coast, but we were not forecasting it to reach, category 3, 4, or 5 intensity. It really didn't become clear that Otis was going to rapidly strengthen and reach category 4 or 5 intensity until mid-Tuesday afternoon.
Okay, let's say midday Tuesday afternoon. You knew already it was going to be at least 4. I mean,
we had a Hurricane Hunter aircraft flew into Otis early Tuesday afternoon, and by around 1 to 2 p.m., I think it would have been 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, we received data that suggested that Otis was already almost a Category 3 hurricane at that time, much stronger than we had been estimating based on satellite imagery earlier in the day. And that's when we realized that Otis was going to be a much stronger storm. In the forecast that we issued that came out at 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on Tuesday afternoon, forecast Otis to reach Category 4 strength before landfall. Then we issued another updated forecast at 6 p.m. that showed Otis reaching Category 5 intensity in the forecast. It was pretty clear, even earlier in the day on Tuesday, that the track was going to bring the system onshore somewhere in the vicinity of the Acapulco area, but it was not clear that it was going to be as powerful a hurricane as it turned out to be until Tuesday afternoon. We were forecasting Category 4 as of 3 p.m. Central Standard Time Tuesday afternoon. Okay. We updated our forecast at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time Tuesday evening to show Category 5 strength in the forecast. So generally in the United States, evacuations are ordered for this threat of storm surge, which is the push of ocean water from the ocean onto dry land by the winds of the hurricane. We typically issue warnings about 36 hours in advance of the onset of conditions, but those evacuation decisions that are made in the United States are made by local government officials at each county. Providing as much information as we can as soon as we can is, our goal is to always save lives and property. And certainly the forecast for Otis, we wish had been, could have been better, and we would have liked them to have been better, but we tried to. As soon as we saw the aircraft data Tuesday afternoon, we immediately started to, get that information out, talk to the Meteorological Service in Mexico, let them know what was going to be changing with the forecast. And again, hopefully that with the limited warning that was provided before Otis reached those very high intensities, that there were some actions that were taken to protect lives.
Let's talk about the technical part of the hurricane, because apparently it surprised meteorologists. Did it surprise you? Otis, the behavior, it was irregular, it was strange.
It was certainly very unusual and almost unprecedented rate of strengthening of the storm. The peak winds increased about 115 miles per hour over a 24-hour period. So Otis went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in 24 hours. So our definition of a rapidly intensifying storm is a 35 mile per hour increase in winds over a 24-hour period. Wow. So this was almost triple that.
You said it was almost unprecedented. Do you have any other hurricanes that more or less show same behavior?
Hurricane Patricia in the Eastern Pacific that made landfall in Mexico in 2015 had another very, very rapid rate of intensification and actually even exceeded what we saw in Otis. So that's another recent example in the East Pacific of a hurricane that made landfall in Mexico.
The 29th of November, I presume is the end of the season, of the hurricane season in Mexico. Could we expect hurricanes like Otis in the next weeks?
Well, hurricane season ends at the end of November, the 30th of November in the Eastern Pacific Basin. And certainly there still is the potential for storms to form and affect Mexico. We have a tropical storm right now off the coast of southwest of El Salvador and south of Guatemala in the Eastern Pacific Basin. It's not going to be affecting Mexico at this time, but certainly Otis was a rare and extreme event. We can't rule out anything at this point, but it would seem, again, hurricanes are possible throughout the entire hurricane season, and there have been multiple hurricane landfalls in Mexico just in the last few weeks. We could go back to Lydia, that hit near Puerto Vallarta earlier in October. So just because Otis happened, or if it didn't happen, that doesn't really change the risk of another storm affecting the west coast of Mexico here in the next few weeks. Generally, the Pacific season starts to quiet down pretty dramatically in a typical year as we get into November. So we would think that those chances would be decreasing as we go through the month, but we can't rule out something at this point.
Could we expect hurricanes like that? And is this behavior, abnormal behavior of Otis, due to climate change and increase of temperature in the Pacific Ocean?
Well, certainly the waters were very warm, 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, but not that much warmer than normal for this time of year off the west coast of Mexico. Those are usually an area of very warm waters, even well into October and November. So while it's difficult to attribute Otis to any particular climate change signal at this point, there has been some recent research that has shown that rapidly intensifying hurricanes may be becoming a little more frequent and maybe intensifying a little faster in a warming climate scenario. In a warming climate too, we're actually even more confident in the fact that the water impacts associated with hurricanes are going to worsen in a warming climate, both due to sea level rise that is going to worsen the effects of storm surge, and the fact that a warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, holds more water vapor, and is increasing rainfall rates and the resultant flooding from those very heavy rainfall rates. And those are effects that we're observing now and will continue to likely worsen in warming climate scenarios. So while the overall intensity changes that we may see in hurricanes is not as well understood in terms of the current science in a warming climate, the impacts of hurricanes, even if they remain the same intensity-wise, are going to worsen from storm surge and heavy rainfall flooding.
ADN 40, siempre conmigo.